Goeiemorgen, good morning to the Capetonian people who's going to join us a bit later our way. Guys and girls, this is Jan Viljoen all the way from Welcome Bay in Tauranga in the North Island. I'm a financial advisor here and I help South Africans with their money in New Zealand, and I help South Africans bring over their life insurances, their policies and so on. And all the way from Cape Town this morning, we have, as promised, Tonya Mancini, the girl you've been seeing making a lot of comments on our page from time to time. We've decided to go live with her. Good morning, Tonya. How are you?
Hi, morning, Jan. How are you?
We are all good, Tonya. Let's put my volume up a bit there. Tonya, I see you've got a lot of beautiful people with you. What's going on there?
Yes, we decided to bring the team on board as well, just to give some insight about financial immigration and transfer of funds. And we have Mariska here, who's the tax practitioner for Currency Partners. And then we have Daniel here, who's our dealer from the dealing desk. So how's it? Daniel will give us some insight with regards to the market and where the rand is at the moment, and Mariska assists us with any tax implications or with financial immigrations and the withdrawals and directives thereof.
All right. Once again, the big question is, and I saw the question this week a lot. Is it emigrate with an E or immigrate with an I?
Good question, Jan. I'm glad you asked. So Emmy is obviously going out of South Africa, and Emmy is coming back into South Africa. So when we do financial immigration, it's the one with the E. It's the emigrate. Jan.
All right. So I was wrong all the time. Yeah? I don't know if my wife is listening. She won't believe that I'm saying I'm wrong. So, all right, Tonya, a quick question to you. There's a lot of people leaving South Africa these current days, and let me start over again and let's say thank you. You have gone the extra mile the other day with a client of ours, and you got on the plane and flew all the way to this lady to help her with the paperwork. That was absolutely astounding. So from our side, thank you very much for going the extra mile there. On the other side, a lot of people is leaving South Africa currently. How many people a day, a week, a month do you guys see, or do you help leave?
Well, statistics-wise at the moment, look, if I have to go back, I've been in Forex for about 12 years. And when I initially started, we maybe did between 2 and 3 immigration applications a month. Volumes-wise and statistics-wise, numbers that we've been given, we're seeing up to 40 families leaving per day out of South Africa. So it has grown with an astronomical amount at this point in time. We can also see in terms of the inquiries we're receiving with regards to financial immigrations and the amount of applications being submitted. So we've definitely seen an increase on that at this stage.
Goodness me, and that's quite hectic. 40 families a day. Yeah, that is volume. So, but the other question is, why would I want to financially immigrate? Why should I financially immigrate?
I think from a personal perspective, it's different for each and every individual. I think they each have their own reasons as to why we're leaving. Obviously, due to employment, looking for employment, due to wanting to give a better life to their children. Some have been faced with crime situations. Some have made the decision due to economic reasons, have decided to start a future abroad. So I think it's different for each one situation. I mean, when I'm approached by a client, they're explaining their reasons, but you can't actually pinpoint the reason as to why. So I think it appeals to different people and their aspects as to how they decide that they want to make that decision to immigrate.
All right. And what happens? Let's pass the ball a bit to Mariska. What happens on the tax side? That is quite important. I mean, I have the feeling I do not want to leave tax money in South Africa, or I hope I don't get taxed anymore. What is the real tax implications here when I financially immigrate?
Yes, so the real tax implication is that For people leaving South Africa, in the past it was never really a problem, but now there's the new tax law coming in March 2020. So the tax implication would be that they would have to submit their tax returns in South Africa, where they also submit their tax returns, let's say, in New Zealand. So they pay tax in New Zealand, but their taxable income will be taxed in South Africa. They'll get a tax rebate or an exemption. So let's say for the first 1 million rand that they earn in New Zealand, that will be tax exempt in South Africa. But anything that you earn over that will be taxable in South Africa at our tax rate. So obviously also we have a double tax agreement with New Zealand. So that means that whatever tax you pay in New Zealand, you get as a tax credit in South Africa. There's a lot of countries on this CPA with us. So you need to establish, firstly, will this affect you with your tax rate that you are on? Firstly, your earnings, the tax rate that you are on. We can always do an analysis for you. So if you do not do your financial immigration, which is not always the case that you have to go that way, you can always analyze it. But if you do not end your tax residency in South Africa, you can have tax payable year.
Okay. So, and what about the money? If I've got an RA in South Africa and you guys immigrate that for me with your process that you do, what is my tax implications on my money that's still in South Africa? How do I get taxed? How much will I lose?
Yeah, so that's quite a significant one. If you leave your RA in South Africa until you retire, then you get a severance benefit of 500,000 Rand on your RA, which means the first 500,000 is tax-free, and then you have a tax scale that you work on. If you do it on immigration, then you only get 25,000 Rand tax-free, and then you go on the tax scale. So it's like a 475,000 Rand difference that you will get taxed on. So it is quite significant, but then you have to ask the question, if you decide to financially immigrate and you plan that you're not coming back to South Africa, do you want to leave your RA here? Do you want to leave your money or just take it abroad? So you can make the decision, do you want to take it? And to take it out, it's quite an easy process. It's a tax directive that you apply for at start. Lots of paperwork, but it's doable and you can take your RA out.
All right, but I think that's a question we should give to our dealer. And I think the question there is, what the heck is going on with the Rand? It's absolutely haywire. It's all over. Why?
Hi everyone. Sorry, I've been out of the picture there for a while. Yeah, so I mean, obviously locally speaking in South African terms, I mean, we've had a couple of negative news releases over the past, 2 to 3 weeks. The people that have been watching the exchange rates have seen fundamental weakness come in from about mid-July, moving into August. Especially on the New Zealand dollar. It must be said, it seems out of control. But the reason the weakness has occurred is because we were at some point at a moment of strength. But the strength was not necessarily to do with South Africa itself. So obviously you guys have been hearing about the global trade wars. And the basic idea is as soon as the trade wars seem to have a resolution, people seem to, sort of find comfort in that. And that means they're comfortable in investing in emerging market currencies like the Argentine peso, the Turkish lira, and obviously the South African rand. So what happens is they buy into rands, and rand almost artificially strengthens. So that's what we saw happen moving, from June into middle July when we saw the rand very strong. It didn't have much to do with South Africa having good news. It was mostly global news that led to people buying rand, looking for growth globally. And as soon as the trade tensions picked up, Trump and China looking, the resolution seems to be, further down the pipeline, combined with negative news, with Eskom, people mistrusting Ramaphosa, thinking his armor, maybe, if you would say that, along with comments from Fitch and Moody's, regarding possible downgrade into the future. We saw this, systematic fundamental sell-off starting, towards the end of July, moving into August. That has been around the weekend quite a bit. But yes,
all right.
Very jumpy.
The question would probably be, is the rand going to weaken further or is it going to strengthen? I mean, in the future, we are all looking at taking money out, not today, but in the foreseeable future. Where's the rand going?
Yeah, so that's a $1 million question. I mean, if we could predict the future, we probably would have been on a yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean. But broadly speaking, we as a desk, our company view at the moment is, as soon as we do have any positive news from the trade wars, we will see the rand strengthen. We're sort of telling clients at the moment, obviously we're not an advisory service, we don't advise, but in our opinion, we're thinking it might have been a slight overreaction, the weakness. So we're thinking we won't be surprised if the rand has a little bit of a strengthening moving, over the next 2 weeks. But at the moment, it must be stated, it's very much headline bound. So very news sensitive at the moment, very short term focused. If a negative news does come out, you will see a reaction in the rate. People are very, very nervous at the moment. Obviously, talks of doomsday and all those things are surfacing. So people are focusing on headlines in the past 2 weeks. Very headline bound at the moment.
All right. So one question we had is, can you take your RA and your RA's retirement annuity? Can you take your retirement annuity out without going on pension? I think probably Tonya is the right person to answer this question. Am I right?
Yes, Jan, thanks for the question. Yes, we can withdraw your retirement annuity before you reach your pension age. We actually do an application to the Reserve Bank or SARS as well, and Mariska does the application to SARS for an early immigration application. So in that instance, we can take out an RA before you reach pension age. I also wanted to mention, it's very important, Jan, when we come to financial immigration, there's 3 instances when a financial immigration is obviously required. And one is when you take out your retirement annuity, you have to conclude your financial immigration. It's the only way that you can withdraw your retirement annuity. Another instance also to make mention of is when a beneficiary receives money from an estate here in South Africa. So should it be a grandma or granddad that's left some money, one of their grandchildren here in South Africa, when we conclude financial immigration, we do it as a family unit. So we also list any minor children that are part of the application, which is very important. I have seen in the past where children are not voted on the MPs. It's very important that the children are allocated on, and should be running grandparents in in South Africa, that means they concluded financial immigration, that money is free and transferable. We also
for one or other reason, the sound coming from you guys is not that good this morning.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. Let's blame the government and the internet. So, but okay, let's just try this again. Daniel also cut out a short while, but then it came back on. So I don't know if it's something to do with the internet, probably. That's all I can think of.
Can you hear us now, Jan? Can you hear
I can hear better now. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back on the instances where financial immigration is a requirement. Yeah. So generally, financial immigration is required when we withdraw a retirement annuity. So we can only withdraw a retirement annuity if financial immigration has been concluded. The second instance is when you're a beneficiary to an estate here in South Africa. So we assist many companies where we administer estates for them, and a lot of the beneficiaries are living abroad. We are unable to transfer any of those funds to beneficiaries abroad if they are South African and they haven't concluded financial immigration.
All right.
And then obviously when we do that financial immigration, we do it as a family unit. So it's very important that you list your children on the application as well. So in a few years down the line, granny or grandpa might have left some money for them here in South Africa. Then we can go back to the application where the parents actually did the initial financial immigration, but the children were listed on that application. We can then freely transfer the money overseas. So it's very important when you're concluding financial immigration to include your children as well.
All right. And until what age can I include my children?
Very good question, Jan, because we've had some instances where, say, a student is fully liable on a parent, say they're on a study visa in New Zealand. they will actually be allowed to be included in on that application. So if they are still reliant on their parents, we are able to include them on the application.
All right. To the guys watching the live feed, I first want to say sorry about the volume sometimes coming out from Cape Town. But if you got any questions, please type them down for us, and we'll get the panel to answer the questions there, except anything that we need a crystal ball for. Anything else, we'll try and answer here. So down the line, my grandmother dies and leaves me that odd million, and I have immigrated. I will now be able to get the money directly to my New Zealand, Canadian, American, wherever I am, bank account. Is that right? Is that what you're actually saying to me?
Yes. So what happens, Jan, when we do financial immigration, we actually issue you with a letter from the Reserve Bank to say that your financial immigration has been concluded. It is very important to maintain that letter. So should in about 10 years down the line, you are a beneficiary to an estate here in South Africa, and you say, an attorney says to you, but you're a beneficiary, we have money that we need to transfer to you in New Zealand, you would need to provide them with that letter to confirm that financial immigration has actually been concluded. Because that bank or authorized dealer will not be able to transfer that money abroad for you without confirmation of that immigration.
How will I be taxed on that money? If I now get, let's say, 1 million rand from my grandmother, and she died, she passed away, and I've already financially immigrated, how do I get taxed on that money? Because I mean, it's an inheritance now.
Yeah, so the person who inherits does not get taxed. It's the estate that gets taxed. And the attorney paying out the inheritance to the individual will already withhold the tax from it.
Okay. The question that came up now is, when can you start the financial immigration process? This is from Nadia Conradi.
Okay, so many questions always arise when I don't have permanent residency yet. Can I do financial immigration? From a Reserve Bank and SARS perspective, we can actually do financial immigration as long as you can prove that you have the permission or the authority to live in a foreign country. You don't have to have permanent residency as of yet. When it pertains to a
work visa as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can do a work visa as well. And when we, especially with a retirement annuity, we require a tax residency certificate. And there's always some confusion that comes up with, but I don't have PR yet. It's got nothing to do with your PR. It's actually to say that you are a tax resident of another country, which means you're paying tax in New Zealand, for instance, via the IRD. We actually have a link that we send to the client that they can log on via the IRD and request the certificate to be issued to them.
Okay. The other question that came up now is from Marissa van Zyl, saying, how much does it cost to do the financial immigration? So that will be, how much does it cost for the whole family to do the financial immigration?
Very good question, and I'm glad that you've asked. I've been in the industry for quite a number of years already, and I've seen quite a bit of quotations with regards to financial immigration. I think in respect of what we charge 9,500 Rand, and it includes the entire service for a family unit. So it includes the Reserve Bank application, the blocked account, the tax clearance certificates, the tax directives, the withdrawals, and that is for husband and wife, and obviously the children on the application as well, and the deregistration from SARS.
And the final tax return.
And the final tax return.
All right. And how long does that process take? And the other question we have, what happens to your tax number in South Africa when you've done financial immigration? So 2 questions in one.
Okay, so
the total process of doing the financial immigration takes between 1 and 3 months to have your tax clearance approved, and also to have your SARB approval done. So that's about 3 months, and also to have your tax directive and your payout of your RE done. 1 to 3 months, all depending on how long it takes us to get all the documents and then the SARS and all of that. But then to do the actual final tax return, we have to wait until it depends on which tax year your RA was paid out. So let's say you get an RA paid out now, where we are now in August 2019. So that RA will fall in the Feb 2020 tax year, which means that tax return can only be submitted in July 2020. then that assessment takes quite long to finalize because SARS has a manual intervention audit on it. And sometimes I've even found it take about 6 months for them to finalize this audit. And only once that is done, then we can deregister for the tax number with SARS, and that takes about a month to be deregistered. So, I mean, for 3 months, after 3 months, you are emigrated. It takes about a year, I would say, to get the tax return and the tax number deregistered, but you are immigrated and you don't have any tax liability after that.
Okay, so just Tanya, just to take a step back to one of the questions here. The 9,500 rand for the financial immigration, is that for family of 4, family of 6, or if I've got 10 kids, it'll be for me, the wife, and all 10 kids? So it's everybody in my immediate family.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. It's generally when we do the tax directives and the tax clearances, it's normally for husband and wife. The minor children don't have any requirements that to get a tax clearance from SARS or any directives. So you can have husband and wife and as many children as you like on the application.
All right. Other question I have here from Colleen Boucher saying, I am on a pension and receive a pension every month from Mercedes-Benz South Africa into my FNB check account. How do I operate this if we are still in South Africa waiting for our visa, which was lodged 22 July? I probably think she would want to find out, can she financially immigrate while she's still getting a pension?
Yes, you can financially immigrate. We actually load the pension onto the MP336B document, which you then submit to the Reserve Bank. We'd obviously need documents from the policyholder confirming the pension, and we place it on record. And the money would then be paid into a blocked account, and we would then obviously transfer it abroad for her. She will not be able to withdraw at an ATM or so forth her pension. So what the Reserve Bank basically does with the MP336B is we declare all assets and liabilities that will remain in South Africa. And the question always comes up with immigration: do I need to sell my house? Do I need to cash in my shares? No, you do not need to do that. We just basically place all your assets on record with the Reserve Bank. You're not required to sell your assets and so forth, but at least your immigration has been concluded from a Reserve Bank and a tax perspective.
Okay, you say all the assets are getting placed on record for the Reserve Bank. Well, what about the fact if I've got some debt in South Africa, like still got our credit card and I've got my house and I want to pay off and so on?
So you can conclude financial immigration. The only the loophole, well, not the loophole, the only stumbling block that comes in is that currency partners will not be able to assist you if you have any liability that remains in South Africa. And the reason for that is, say you have a credit card with FNB, your application will then have to be done via FNB. And the reason for that is because they have to go to the Reserve Bank. Once they do financial immigration, they have to report monthly to the Reserve Bank to say that that credit card is getting paid. So any liability, especially when it holds the biggest liability like a bond, you would need to go via the authorized dealer that holds the liability, and only they would be able to do the application for financial immigration for you.
All right, so that basically answered two of the questions we have here, one from Monique Pelson and Ellen Stolz, that ask if you have debt, if you can immigrate. So basically, you guys can't help a person immigrate if they still have debt in South Africa. The other question that came up here is, now they're living in New Zealand, they have fully immigrated. What happens if it doesn't work out?
Yeah, so you can financially immigrate. I just wanted to say you can financially immigrate if you do have debt. You can only do it via the authorized dealer, the bank that holds the majority of the debt. So you can do financial immigration.
But you guys can't assist with that.
We can't assist because FNB must take control of that liability, and we can't take control of that liability.
All right. Okay. What about the fact that, and this comes from Lawrence van der Westhuizen, I've moved to New Zealand, I've lived happily here, I've immigrated, and stuff doesn't work out here, and I need to go back to South Africa. What now?
Okay, so we do have we call it a failed immigration if it's under a period of 5 years. So if you concluded financial immigration, say you've been out of the country for 2 years and you've now done your financial immigration, you've exempted yourself from tax, and in 2, you've been there now, say 4 years, and you've decided, no, I want to come back home. Once you come back, we do an application to the Reserve Bank. It's called a failed immigration. We do an immigration with an I, and we do an application to the Reserve Bank. When we do immigration, we open up a blocked account for you. And then once the Reserve Bank comes back and says, okay, they acknowledge that the RSA resident is now returning to South Africa, we then unblock that account for you. And you can transact as per normal, as if you were South African initially when you stayed here.
A question here from Shane coming. If you are on debt review, I think this could be a few different questions. Debt review could mean that you still owe money, and then we go back to the question that currency partners won't be able to help the immigration process. The biggest debtor will then allow the immigration process. What about a person that is blacklisted? Let's say I haven't paid my credit card in South Africa. I owe one of the banks a heck of a lot of money. I've now skipped the country. I'm sitting in New Zealand, and now I want to financially immigrate. Can that be done?
So I haven't had a case like that, but I can only imagine when we do the application, when you list your assets and liabilities on the MP336B, it obviously goes through the filtration of SARS, it goes via the Reserve Bank, and they're pretty on it in terms of their checks. So they will give us a pre-approval and say, okay, everything's in order. I don't think they would approve an application in that instance.
All right. Other question that we have is, you guys based in South Africa, I'm in New Zealand, but can you do Australia, Canada, everything else? So there's no holding back to which country you guys can do it. Am I right?
Absolutely, Jan. I'm actually busy with a client now. Singapore, I've done Canada, I've done Ireland, UK. I mean, we're busy with Saudi Arabia, Dubai, from all walks of across the world.
Yeah, as long as the person is an ex-South African, basically, that's the big thing.
Correct, yes.
All right. What about people who move into South Africa from, let's say, the UK? Now they're going to work. Can you help them to financially immigrate from the UK or not?
No, so we can only assist RSA residents, so someone that has been issued a green barcoded ID book, because our rules pertain differently than across the world. So from a South African perspective, we are obviously required, if we do pack up and leave to go live somewhere permanently, we are required obviously to do financial immigration according to our circumstance.
Okay. So we basically running out of time here, but and I want to say thanks to everybody who's still listening to us. Any other last comments or remarks? I actually have a question regarding the money, and you guys take out money as well. It's just not only financial immigration. If you want to move your money from South Africa all the way to the New Zealand or Canadian bank or wherever else, you guys also run with that.
Correct.
On the other hand, is the cost there. What does it cost for me to bring my money over to New Zealand without financial immigration? Now, keep that out of the loop here.
Okay, look, Jan, with smaller values, I know that there's a lot of competition out there in terms of small values. We do charge a very competitive fee in comparison to many of the full banks, and especially when it comes to our rates. So should you want a quotation, I'm happy to give you a quotation. But yes, definitely we are a lot cheaper than definitely from my previous experiences.
I know. I mean, I've been knowing Tonya for quite a while now, and I see there's quite a few questions of where we can find the email for Tonya. I'll post a link on that you can just click on and then go directly through to Tonya, which is quite easier than just sending an email. The email takes a bit longer than the link. The link is quite nice. I think it's a bit of a forward thinking with that link, and it really helps us a lot from our side as well, just to get business over to Tonya. To the people who don't know me, I think I met you in 2011. Is that, or I think around there, 2011, 2012, I met you in Cape Town. So
yes, when you were still here in South Africa.
Yeah, we're giving our ages away now, but by the way. So,
yes.
Yeah, that's a while ago. Anything else from you guys before we conclude and say goodbye to the rest of the world?
Yes, I'd like to say something with regards to international transfers as well. Daniel from our desk, our dealer's desk, is able to also give you some guidance with regards to transfers and our costing and so forth. And you can definitely do a competitive quote. And I wanted to mention that our onboarding system is also electronic. So coming from one of the big four banks, that was quite a bit of a challenge for being able to assist clients. So we have a platform which everything is electronic. We can assist you from wherever you are in the world. We would need your ID and we verify your proof of address. So Jan, please, if you post that link, I mean, we can assist any client that has a request. We also can give you the email address for quotes with Daniel, and Daniel can assist them as well. And then Mariska would also like to just mention something.
Yeah, so something important that you should also keep in mind when you do your immigration is, Tonya mentioned, on the MP336 document, you list all your assets. And it's not to say that you have to sell it, you can keep it in South Africa. But on your immigration, you will pay capital gains tax on any of your assets, even though you keep it. So it would be as if you sell it. So on all your assets except for your fixed property. So you do need to keep that in mind, because that will be on the final tax return that company.
Okay, some of you're losing you a bit on the sound side there. I don't know why, but the question that was asked: do we have to pay tax to take non-RA funds out of South Africa, such as money from the house sale? I would believe the house sale will probably be only capital gains tax. Am I right there?
Yeah, so you won't pay capital gains tax. If you sell your house, then you'll pay the capital gains tax. But if you leave your house in South Africa, your capital gains tax will roll over when you sell it eventually. So it depends. If you sell it when you leave, then yes, you'll pay capital gains tax only.
Okay. What happens if I leave my house in South Africa? It's fully paid. I do immigrate financially. Do I still pay tax on the rental income that comes in? And how do I get my rental income from my asset in South Africa?
Yeah, so you will then remain a South Africa or tax resident. You'll just be a non-resident taxpayer. So you can't deregister your tax number, then you'll be liable for the tax on the rental income. The only difference is you don't have to declare your worldwide income, so you'll only pay tax on any South African source-based income.
Okay. And what if I bring that, let's say the 5,000 or 10,000 rand a month I make from my rental income, if I bring that into New Zealand, I'm already taxed in South Africa, so I won't be double taxed now, eh?
No, you won't be double taxed.
Okay. Where's our dealer? Has he got any last smart remarks for us there?
Hi, everyone.
Any last thoughts on what's happening out there?
I mean, if it was my money that I would be moving overseas, I would watch the news very closely every hour or every 2 hours. Our quotations on the remittance of fund is done live. So if the rate drops 10 cents in half an hour, our quotes drop with it. So I would keep a very close eye on the news. As I said, people are very news sensitive. The market is very news sensitive at the moment. And hopefully we can see some strength in the rand so we can get better exchange rates into the New Zealand dollar.
All right. Listen, guys, in Cape Town, thank you very much. I know it's already late there and you guys got to go home, so be safe out there. Thanks a lot for your participation this morning. Once again, guys and girls, thanks for listening this morning to us. All the way live from Welcome Bay, Tauranga, North Island of New Zealand. And if I look outside my window, the sun is starting to come through, although this morning I don't think we're going to have a lot of sun. Yeah, it's raining outside. I always tell you about New Zealand, and it's not raining every day, but this morning it's raining. So thanks a lot for listening to us. We'll make this video available as soon as we finished here. And then I'll also post the link up to Tonya. Tonya, everybody else there in Cape Town, thanks, guys. Again, have a lovely evening to you all. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.